welcome back to the Conscious Contact podcast. My name is Genay Peavey, and I'm here with my co-host Susan Sanders. And today we're talking about, you can tell I'm thrilled about this because I'm not doing very good at it right now. Prioritizing your to-do list.
In a sustainable, authentic way.
Oh, Lord, this is a tall order.
This is not the podcast where we say this is how you get more shit done.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yes.
It might be the opposite, and that might be the best option.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Do you want to talk about your struggle right now?
Oh my God. Sure. I am just kind of in that space. I feel like I do that once a year where I really try to streamline my to-do list. Not that I don't have random crap that's on it that I carry over week to week because I'm a human, but really trying to figure out how to be more efficient in the way that efficient systems, efficient in how I live my life, and what are my priorities. I mean, I think in January, everybody kind of does that. Like, what am I going to do this year? Where do I want to be this time next year? Like all of that. And like, that's great to set those goals, see previous episodes. But how do you make sure that you're doing the things that are going to get you there? Like prioritizing those things that are actually going to move you towards your goal, not what you think is going to move you towards your goal. And looking at my to-do list, it can be overwhelming, and either I do the big ones and then all the small ones just keep piling up, the things that are going to take me less than 2 minutes to do. And then I have a whole list of those that's going to take me an hour and a half. Or I do all the little stuff to avoid doing the bigger things.
Yes.
Because I'm not prioritizing it. It should be a mix of both, because I have things that take a good chunk of time and things that don't take very long that I do probably need to do every day or every week or whatever to make my life run the way that makes me feel the best.
Yes.
And I think that's another point to make, is like, this is also not going to be us telling you what to do every day or what should be higher up on your prioritization of your to-do list, because I don't know you. I don't know your life. I barely know my own. And it changes for me just on a monthly basis.
Right.
Yeah. But the struggle right now is just not being clear on two things, not being clear on what my priorities are. I know the big ones, but I have so much like mental drain. Like, I'm just in a season of life where I'm going to be a little bit more tired, a little bit more frazzled than normal. So that makes it hard to like see clearly what I need to be doing. Not as clearly as I normally can.
Yeah, because when you're not firing on all cylinders physically, there is fallout that happens mentally. And it sounds like that's causing some of the brain fog that you're like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing right now?
Yeah.
And that happens to me too when I feel like things are popping up everywhere. And this email is coming in, this person's calling. Oh, I had these random thoughts that I did. I jotted down some things on a piece of paper, but then I washed them in my pants, and now that's gone. And all of these things. And what works for me at that point, because at that point I feel out of control. Like, I don't want to just move to the nuts and bolts here. I feel out of control, and I don't feel like I'm remembering to do the things that are important to me.
Yeah.
And now part of me is like, well, the piece of paper that I washed in my pants, if it's that important, it will come back.
No, sometimes not.
It might, but then what if it's, I promised Myra that I was going to do X and Y, and I don't remember until I'm standing in front of Myra next Sunday, and it's too late.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, oh, sorry, I washed my pants. That's not who I want to show up as a friend. And that's where the stress comes in for me, is like my insides aren't matching up with my outsides. And that overwhelm, if I wrangle those things, that helps with the overwhelm. And so I try to focus that in that if I'm on the move and I need to collect those items digitally, I do it one way. And then if I have a pencil and paper, I do it another way.
Yeah.
And the list that got washed in my pants, I wasn't using that system that I set up for myself. I, was flying by the seat of my literal pants. But I guess what I'm saying is like there's a difference between getting the priorities done and just doing a brain dump so that you can clear your mind to establish the priorities.
Yes.
Because that is what I hear you saying that causes you stress is my brain just can't figure out what the most important thing is right now.
Yes. Yeah. I am a big fan of getting a full sheet of paper, not like just a tiny ticker piece of paper. I do that for the big things. Once I've prioritized them, then they go on that like narrow. If you're not watching us on YouTube, you should be. The narrow, tall, skinny paper.
Right.
Like to-do list paper.
Yeah.
I take a huge piece of notebook paper and just literally write everything I need to get done that day, that week, that month on the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's big stuff, what are the tiny steps I need to do to make those happen? Yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And then I look at, okay, here are the 10 hours I have in front of me. What do I need, like legitimately need to do? Because if I'm over here worrying about deep cleaning this and going through and throwing away that, or like mending a button on my shirt and I haven't gotten groceries for dinner,
right,
I'm going to be pissed at myself later.
You're going to be hungry.
And I'm going to be real hungry. And then I'm not going to have food. And then I'm going to be hangry. And then nothing's going to get done. And then I'm going to be pissed at the world.
Right. And you're already tired. So now you're hungry and you're lonely tired.
Yes.
You blow up stuff that you didn't just because you opted for busy rather than the value driven list or the priority.
Exactly. Yes. And it really is like sometimes I just choose the things that are going to entertain my brain. And that's okay if I've gotten my actual priority list done.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm just doing it to distract myself from the necessary, mundane, everyday, boring things I need to do, I'm going to be in trouble because I'm going to have all this random shit done and the house is going to be in disarray and we're not going to have anything to eat and I'm not going to have clean underwear. It'll be a bad time. But I'll be like, but look at this new Excel spreadsheet that I made.
Right.
To track when I open my beauty products so they don't expire and I keep using them. And no one's going to care. That's
you could just write it with a Sharpie on the thing. You don't need a spreadsheet. And I love a spreadsheet. So the fact that I'm saying you don't need a spreadsheet is like marked it on your calendar.
It's just me distracting myself from something that I need to be doing at some point. But yeah, it is. I need to get it out of my brain first. Because if I try to prioritize it while it's all still in there, it doesn't work that way for me.
Yep. And I do that brain dump digitally most of the time. And the list on my phone is literally called brain dump.
Nice.
And it is just there have been things that have been on that list for years.
Oh yeah.
And may never get done, but every once in a while I'll scroll through and I'll be like, oh, remember when I wanted to do that? We don't live in that house anymore. I can cross that off.
Yeah.
Brain dump, just getting it all out.
Yes.
Getting it all out. And that also can help with if someone says, how can I help you? Like I see you that you're spinning out. What can I take off your
Delegation.
plate?
Yeah.
If you don't know what's on your plate, you certainly can't hand it off to somebody else.
Yeah. Or what you're willing to give up or what you can let go control of.
Yes.
You know, if it's lower down on your list, maybe that'd be the good thing to give to somebody else. You know, see what you love to exert control over.
Yeah.
Because we're all, imperfect, controlling beings. Yeah. And then pick some of the stuff that you just need to get done that you don't care about.
Well, let's talk about some of those 2-minute tasks and things. Do you find yourself doing some of those 2-minute things to keep busy to avoid the bigger rocks?
Both and. Yeah. Sometimes I do those to avoid the big stuff. Sometimes I do the big stuff to avoid all the menial tiny things because see previous episode about decision overwhelm. If I have 50 tiny things to do, I'm like, and I have to prioritize those, even though
Mhm.
they're, small, tiny stuff. I try to see where I can snowball things.
Yes, I batch all of
Yes.
not all of those, but that is a habit that I've
Mhm.
gotten into is batching them.
Yeah.
That if I have paperwork to do, phone
Mhm.
calls to return,
Yeah.
like I don't want to pick up my phone and make a call
Yeah.
and then go to, do this and that and the other at work and then post something and then make another call.
Yeah.
I want to batch those up so I'm just picking up my phone and I'm getting my phone momentum.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I can't make one more phone call. I'm just going to do my calls one a day.
Uh-huh.
So I find myself sometimes going back and forth between batching and one a day. And like,
Yeah. It's hard to find like what feels good then, and does it really feel good because it's the right thing to do, or it feels good because I'm tired today or
yeah.
what have you. But
Mhm.
I'm the same way because I don't have a smartphone anymore. When I get in front of my computer or on my phone, I
Yes.
need to do that stuff right then because, like, I'm not getting on there again.
Right.
Maybe for the rest of the day. Like yesterday, I got on my computer, but I didn't get on my phone at all. So no social media at all.
Mm-hmm.
So it is that thing of I need to see when I have the most access
Mm-hmm.
to do things all at once. So like when I got on my computer, I forwarded some PDFs that I needed to do. I sent some mood boards to the interior designers for the house. I checked off a couple of my to-do list things like menial tasks of I need to pay this or respond to that or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't take that. I always think that it's going to take forever. And one of the things that has helped is I will set a timer
Yes.
just to see,
That's one of my
like,
favorites.
yeah, not to like give myself an out after 20 minutes, but to see how long it actually takes so I can
Uh-huh.
ground myself in reality
Right.
and not in this stuff up here because I always think everything takes an hour. No matter what it is, it's
That's
going to take
so
an hour.
funny.
It's going to take an hour.
Rounding rules are tricky.
Right? I mean, I round up to an hour. If it's 5 minutes, it's an hour. Like,
Yeah.
and I do need to be pulled back down to reality
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes I'm thinking it takes an hour so I can talk myself out of doing it.
Right.
Most of the time, that's what
Yeah.
I'm doing.
Yeah. And the way I use timers is that I will say, okay, I have 30 minutes. Let me get through as many of these dribs and drabs as
Yeah.
I can in
Yeah.
30 minutes. And Paul and I will do this together. Like neither one of us wants to clean the house. Let's just do as much as we can. We're going to
Yeah.
jam for 15 minutes. That's
Yes.
it. We're going to go as fast as we can for 15 minutes
Mhm.
and then we'll be done.
Yeah.
And what happens 9 times out of 10 is that one task that well, let me just finish this one thing.
Mhm.
It takes a little bit longer and then we might, feel like we have enough energy. And sometimes we're like, all right, one toilet got done, the other one didn't.
Yep.
I guess we're done for the day.
Yes.
And honoring where you are is
Yes.
super important because you don't want to not trust yourself.
Mhm.
Because if I say, okay, Sue, we're going to do it's not like a Mel Robbins power hour, whatever it might be. It is just like, I know you don't want to do these,
Mhm.
dear Susan. Let's do 30 minutes. At the end of 30 minutes, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
And then if that 30 minutes comes and I'm like, man, Trick, do you do another 30? I am not going to trust myself.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's almost like, the the coaches that I've had, they're like, all right, this is the last one, your last sprint, blah, blah, blah. They're like, JK, we're going to do another 5. God damn, I just gave it my all.
Yeah.
And now my all
Now you
isn't
need
good
more.
enough.
Yeah. Mhm.
So sometimes I just have to give it the last 30 minutes I have. I'm emptying the tank. This is the only thing I have. And then I'm going to take the next, hour to do what I want.
Yeah.
So honoring whatever tricks you're giving yourself.
Yeah.
Important.
No, I'd like use all the tools available. There are a million people.
I like calling them tools better than tricks. Thank
Yes.
you. Let's stop for there. The tools.
Because, I mean, I can trick myself, but it's probably not in a good way.
Right. And do we want to trick ourselves?
Right? Like, again, like, I want to be in reality,
Yes.
not this Genay created storyline that's not actually what's going on.
Right.
At
I want to
all.
live in this life, not some
Yes.
parallel universe.
Yes. Not if I do this, then I'll magically be able to have time to go be an enchanted fairy somewhere. You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Right.
and there's so much available. Like, I'm not necessarily a self-help person, but like tools like setting a timer for yourself and saying, here's 20 minutes, do this, and then take a break so your brain can have some space. Or
Mhm.
for me, setting a timer and saying, be in reality, see how long something actually takes you.
Yes.
So you can plan more appropriately. So you
I
don't,
love that.
yeah, so you don't feel like you have too much time or too little time or whatever in
Mhm.
your schedule when you're time blocking, another tool. I use, and I use it very loosely. I'm working towards being more consistent with it. There's a system called Fly Lady,
Oh, I love the Fly
FLY.
Lady.
She's so great. The fact that it stands for Finally Love Yourself is amazing because I think, and again, if you are not a person that cleans your own home, which I've been there, this is not going to matter to you whatsoever. Or if it doesn't drain you, it's not going to matter to you. But as someone who that is my part of my vocation, having the ability to have someone have already done the thinking, see previous decision fatigue episode, but
Yeah.
who also incorporates the fact that I need to wake up and get dressed, like, and not be in my pajamas to be my most effective self. That's another tool. That's a huge thing for me. Like,
Mhm.
sometimes, yes, I'm going to wear my pajamas all day, but I know if I need to be productive, like, I do have legitimate shit I need to get done. If I get up and just put on a dress and some slippers and
Mm.
like do my hair a little bit and put on mascara, I'm always more productive.
Mm.
I feel better about myself.
Mhm.
I feel like if I need to go run an errand, I can. And I'm not like, oh, I need to put a hat on or I need to put clothes on, whatever. I'm ready
Right.
for my day. I'm setting
Mhm.
myself up to be ready. And she incorporates like having a night routine, writing
Mhm.
down your wins for the day and what you can do better
Oh,
tomorrow.
that's
I mean,
interesting because I've
it's
only
so
used
good.
her work for like cleaning the house
Yeah.
and what this is and organizing that and
Which that is the nuts and bolts of it, and she kills it.
yeah.
Because it is like here is what 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I don't know that if you said that at the top and I just spaced out, but yeah, these are bite size, 15,
Yes.
20 minutes
It's
and then you're
every
done.
day. There's tiny little checklists. You wake
Yeah.
up and do a swish and swipe, which is just keeping your bathroom a little bit clean every day so you don't have to do a deep clean,
Mhm.
which I need that so much in my life.
Yeah.
Because I will just wait until I'm just that person. I'll wait until it piles up and then I will do something about it instead of doing the maintenance stuff
Mhm.
to lead up to it. But she's got a zone focus for each week out of the month. And you just take 30 minutes a
Mhm.
day and say, okay, here, the kitchen is the theme for this month. So today I've got 30 minutes. I'm going to scrub down the inside of the oven. And that's it. That's all I got time for. That's all
Mhm.
I'm going to do. The next day, I might pull the fridge out and vacuum behind it.
Oh god.
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that.
But it's tiny stuff for each room, like each area of your house
Uh-huh.
that you can do to avoid having to spend 7 hours for 4 days in
And
the
no one can
spring.
use your kitchen for the whole time.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you this question. What about, or how do you handle it when other people's priorities are imparted on you? Whether it's a
Mm.
partner's priorities or a boss's priorities, how does that impact your to-do list? And the example
Mm.
that I'm thinking of is when I have my day job planned out, like these are the things I need to get done, and I get a Teams chat from my boss that says, can you join this call, or I need thus and such report by the time you log off for the day.
Yeah. So these are two separate ones for me. The way I look at it with a partner, like Luke, he needed me to make a return for him the other day.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy. It's like a
Like
happy
return something
return
at a place, like
to UPS, basically.
yes,
But I
okay,
didn't have to pack
return.
anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's you scan the barcode and you don't have to put it in
Isn't
packaging
that
or
system
anything.
amazing?
It's the best thing. Talk about prioritizing a to-do list. I'll return anything now. That's great. Or like Amazon returns at Kohl's and you get $5.
Oh, you get
You get
$5?
$5 to spend at Kohl's.
Cold Cole's cash?
Yeah. And if
Huh.
I can buy whatever I want with that. And it's just for making a return.
Anything you buy from Amazon can be returned at Kohl's.
Yes.
That's a game changer.
Yes. And it's great. It's lovely. It makes it so much less of like a hill that I need to go climb up
Yeah.
and die
It's
on.
not far from where we live.
No, it's not.
Anyway, I interrupted you. So you had to make a
No,
return.
yes. So I had to make a return. He asked me to do it, and he never asked me for anything. Like legit. If he wants food and time with me, like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
all he asks me for. And he's got another one. They sent him the wrong thing, so I'm sending it back. So that is part of my priorities because he doesn't ask me for much, because it is so easy. I mean, he's
Mhm.
not asking me for something crazy. That might be a completely different story. But
Mhm.
he does ask me for things every now and then. He's like, "Hey, could you make homemade pitas?"
Mm.
You know, like he has very small asks. And when he initially asks me, I will internally roll my eyes like, "Don't you know how busy I am? And I've already got food planned, and I already have all my errands already accounted for
I
for
just
the
got
week."
home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can have that knee-jerk reaction of like, this is too much. But if I, again, like be in reality,
Yeah.
how can I just fit this into what I'm already doing? Like it's not that hard for me
Yeah.
for that stuff. If it's someone outside of that, which I'm not beholden to because I'm in a partnership with them, I know we're different on this. And I'm not speaking about a job because I have no experience, strength, and hope on that right now. If it's an outside commitment, a board that I'm volunteering, and I
Mhm.
emphasize volunteering, I'm not being paid for any of this. I think that's a different layer that I want you to talk about.
Mhm.
But if it's a board I'm volunteering for or a friend or whatever, I say no a lot.
Mm.
Like where I'm on a board and they're planning something and there was an accident in the scheduling. It's supposed to be on a Monday, but they scheduled it for a Tuesday, and they said instead of changing the marketing, can we just do it on Tuesday? I'm like, that's fine, but I can't come.
Mhm.
Like I've got something I'm doing Tuesday. I always have something I'm doing Tuesday.
Mhm.
I had scheduled it for Monday. I apologize.
Mhm.
And if they still want to do it Tuesday, that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh well, I can wipe that off my to-do list for Monday,
Right.
and
It's beautiful. Yeah. And
yeah,
remove it.
and that took a while because like definitely
Mhm.
previously in my life I probably would have been like, oh yeah, let me reschedule my entire life for you and say no to something that's really important to me so that I can do this thing that I don't
Yes.
care about. And yeah.
The martyrdom.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's the martyrdom is the wall, I guess, I'm bouncing these decisions off of.
Hmm.
That I'm trying to do that better now. And the piece about the if someone is paying me, so back to the example from my
Yes.
boss, um, it depends on how big the lift is. Because a
Mm.
lot of times if she's asking me to join a call, there's really not action for me to take. Um, because if I'm facilitating the meeting, I've scheduled it so I know like if I'm gonna be super busy on the call, I've organized it.
Yeah.
Um, but it might just be I need to listen or to take notes and something like that. Now, so that's work wise. I try to see and I can say when do you need this by? And this
Hmm.
is what I love about being a project manager is nobody even blinks anymore when I ask that question. Like, tell me when you need this by. And sometimes she'll say I need it by the end of the day. And then sometimes it'll be like, oh, just whenever.
Yeah.
Like, oh, well, my whenever is about 2026. So I will
Yeah,
be
right?
back with you later.
Yes.
Um, Now, personally, it's a little bit trickier
Mm.
because the martyrdom does come in. And that's always the first gate that I try to pass through. So for example, so Anna's studying abroad in Italy,
Aw.
and we had to figure out what we're gonna do about her phone when she's there.
Yeah.
SIM card, dual SIM, blah blah blah, is it unlocked? All this stuff, and it's a lot of stuff that I don't understand.
Yeah.
And now Paul has done all the deep dive on it, and we came to a decision, and this was our plan, and then about 5 days before she's supposed to go, wrench thrown in the plan, and we are back to zero. What are we
Mm.
going to do about Anna's phone?
Mhm.
And I immediately was like, this is why you have to read your emails and bleh. Like I climbed up on all the soapboxes all at once.
Mm-hmm.
And I did not say any of this out loud. And I'm so proud of myself for the power in the pause
Mm-hmm.
because that is not helpful at this point.
Yeah.
I'm sure she's stressed out about now she's got no phone and it's not just like,
Yeah.
oh, how do I call my parents?
Mm-hmm.
It is, how do I book my train ticket?
GPS.
How do I get everywhere in places I can't even read the GB signs?
Yes. Google Translate for the signs.
Google Translate.
Yeah.
How do I pick where I want to go? What is there to do in Rome?
Yeah.
Like all these things. And yes, of course she has a computer.
Yeah.
But
That's different.
when she's on the move and she's 21.
Yeah.
So it's different for her than us just being like, oh, well, let me just pull this up on my computer. That's a default for us.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, this is a priority from someone in my life and we're going to deal with this. And I also discovered that part of it was I'm super uncomfortable because I don't understand what we're supposed to do. I don't want to deal with this because I don't understand it and it's hard.
Yes.
So I don't want to do this. So, and my reaction was, well, you should have figured this out. So I'm not going to help you with it now. And that was because I was afraid because I didn't understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other thing that came in, and I truly believe this is my higher power, my sponsor in my ear. There was a time when she wouldn't have even asked me.
Yeah.
Because I was an angry, drunken monkey that she wouldn't have approached.
Yeah.
And now I am acting different towards her, so she feels safe enough to say, we need a new plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I deal with other people throwing a wrench in my priorities and to-do lists.
When you were talking about jobs, I remember the last job that I had. Am I getting paid for this? Is this in my job description?
Yes.
Is something I would go back to every time. And I would respond with that in a very kind way. I would say, completely understand that this needs to get done. And depending on my bandwidth, I would say, I can take care of this right now because I know how to do it. However, this is a job for so-and-so. Or this should be delegated to yada, yada.
Yep.
Or
I did that yesterday and it was life-changing.
Dude, because if you're not getting paid for this, if this isn't like, if this is not in your job description, why are you doing it?
Right.
This is not your best friend. This is your boss. This is a transactional relationship. And if you're constantly getting asked to do things that are not in your job description, you're not getting paid for, you need to have a meeting with your manager and say, I have no problem doing this. I am capable of doing it. However, I need a raise if that's what you're going to have me do all the time, because that's not in my job description. So either change the job description and or give me a raise and or delegate this to someone else.
Yeah. And I have a continual conversation with my manager because my instinct is to take over and just get stuff done.
Yeah.
Like that in a meeting, I'm the first to speak up. I'm the first to ask the questions. If there's been more than 3 Mississippi, I'll say, fine, I'll go ahead and do that.
I'll just do it. Yeah.
And that does not help person X and person Y grow.
Yeah.
And there are cultural differences with person X that I'm thinking about that he doesn't speak up. He is deferential. He defers to people in the call. And then I jump in and he's like, okay, well, she's going to do it.
Yeah.
And then I'm salty because person X isn't doing his job. Of course he's not. If you're going to do it for him, he's not dumb.
Hell yeah.
So I have the easier, softer way is for me to say, I don't want to step on Mr. X's toes. I'm going to need to let you run this by him.
Yeah. This is in his job description, not mine, or this is his point of call. Like, he makes a choice here.
Right.
Yeah. Don't do stuff that's not your shit to do.
Right.
You know what I
We have
mean?
enough on our to-do list that we talked about at the top of the episode
Yeah.
without adding someone else's monkeys to your to-do list.
Exactly. Unless it is like you are caring for someone by doing this thing. Like,
Sure.
it means something to them. It's not just the menial task that you're being asked to do. It's not just them piling the
Right.
stuff they need to do and they don't want to do on you. it is truly like, for whatever reason, it is better for you to do, or they are asking for your help.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And I think that goes back to the main idea that in order to authentically live your life, your priorities do need to connect to your values.
Yes.
That is how you can prioritize your to-do list. Like talking about taking the return,
Yeah.
you do have the value of wanting to take care of your home and your partner.
Yes.
So, sure, yeah, I can knock that out. And
Yeah.
where does that fall in the priority list or the actual to-do list, excuse me?
Yeah.
I have this batch today. I'm going to be out. I put it in, boom, done.
Yeah.
And so you can get your priorities done while you get your to-do list done.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Making sure that you've got a Venn diagram of those things.
Yeah, I love a Venn diagram.
Me too.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris. Where you
Right,
at?
right.
Old me wants whatever she's on, because damn, she is happy.
Yes.
Woo! Good Lord. She loves a Venn
I love a Venn
diagram.
diagram.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that really helps us live the width of our life. I don't want to just live
Yes.
a long life.
Yeah.
I want to live a broad, deep
Broad.
life.
Yes.
And getting the right things done instead of just being busy getting things done. I want to get the
Yes.
right things done.
Yeah. And like, my life is making sure the dinner's on the table and that the cat water filters are changed.
Yeah.
But it's also spending 2 hours putting together a puzzle, or going on a walk with literally no time limit and me just staring at the world, or planning a hike that's going to be a 2.5 hour drive there and back and a 3 hour hike. Like, having space for all of that
Yes.
and making sure that it is broad, because if I am just clean the house, make the dinner, that's not fulfilling for me. That's not going to be good. I would
Right.
caution that that's not going to be good for anyone. None of us are that binary, I don't feel. And being able to have just a multitude of different things, like, not only for my priorities and my to-do list, some of that is going to be nuts and bolts operations. But a lot of my to-do list is like, do the shit that I love to do.
Yeah.
Have fun. Whether that's like making sure that I'm meeting with friends regularly, making sure I'm calling people. I will schedule to call people, or I won't. And I would say most people are like that. Most people are like that. And I don't mean appointment calls, like calling someone to catch up, or like calling my grandmother and having the time to do that and intentionally doing it, where I've got a letter from someone. Someone actually physically wrote me and shows up in my mailbox. I love that. So I need to set time aside to not just write back yeah, I'm good, hope you are too.
Right.
Like, legitimately do like an old school, how it was back in the day, take 30 minutes and just write to this person. It needs to be all of that. And finding the
Yeah.
balance, prioritizing a good mix of nuts and bolts and what's going to feed my soul kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other question I wanted to ask you kind of just went there, because I wanted to ask about, instead of competing priorities between what you want to do and what someone else wants you to do, competing priorities between what you want to do and what you want to do.
Yeah.
And, I was thinking about this because there's I love books. And then I also really appreciate the Marie Kondo style of having things around you that bring you joy, get rid of the rest. And I like to have open space. I don't want to just have like my walls lined with everything, bookcases and tables and chairs. Like, I'd want space. Now, Marie Kondo says 30 books. That's her recommendation. And I'm like, ooh, because I have 30 books in my house that I haven't read, and I want to read all those. So how do I find, and I think of it in terms of, and this is top of mind because I'm writing this section in my proposal right now, that you've got the sustainable productivity triangle. And so I love to read. That's my mental well-being side. But 30 books, Marie Kondo, that's environmental surroundings. Like, there's conflict and there's stress in that, where those two sides meet. What wins?
Oof. I if I'm speaking from my own personal experience with my bookcase over there and the fact that I'm building an entire library room in my new house,
Yeah. And
30 is not for me.
maybe not with this example, but you just mentioned like you want to sit down and have space. You want to do you want to like proverbial space. I'm moving away from environmental surroundings,
Mhm,
but
mhm.
what you were saying is I want to have room in my schedule to decide what is the next right step. I want to sit down and be cozy and do a puzzle,
Yeah.
and I want to connect with friends.
Yeah.
So you prioritize and put both on your to-do list.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Both
that's the
both
stress
and.
of that, and the both and.
Yeah.
That's the key. And I think that is what I have found in sobriety is space for that both and
Yeah. And
instead
what
of the
works
black
for
and white
you?
thinking.
Yeah, like truly what works for you? Does 30 books work for you and that feels good? Or does 60? Or does 100? Or does 200?
Right. I can
You
appreciate
know?
Marie Kondo have joy, everything you love
Yes.
bring joy,
Yeah. And books bring me joy, so I want more.
and I can have more.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
maybe it's just
Yeah.
I need to organize them in a way that is more visually pleasing to me. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe I do need an intentional bookcase rather than the thing that I bought off Craigslist 4 years ago.
Right.
Looking at that option as well. Or
Right.
instead of alphabetical, they need to be in a rainbow. I've had a period like that. I'm
No.
sure that would drive you insane.
No. Y'all do not put your books in a rainbow. Do not. Where do I need to say in that kind of too? Oh my God, don't.
If that brings you personal joy,
I don't care. Don't
do
do
it.
it.
Don't listen to Susan. This is your life. This is your life. If it brings you joy and it's not hurting anybody other than Susan's eyeballs.
We might have to take a break.
But it is really, what are you looking for? If you're looking for open space and no clutter, maybe it's not the books you need to look at.
Yeah, that's true.
Or maybe it's, if you're anything like me, maybe it's the 7 piles of books in different areas that I need to look at. And maybe I need to go put them all back on my bookshelf
You know
and
what
just
it
make a
is?
list.
I need to dust them.
There you go.
That's part of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's looking at what the real core of it is
Yes.
before I jump into I'm going to get rid of all my clothes and dress like Mark Zuckerberg. Like where can I find the fact that I like to wear beautiful things and the fact that I don't want to have decision fatigue and put together outfits? Well, I buy the same dress in every color if I really like it.
Mm.
Period.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why I'm not going to buy the same dress in the same color and wear it every day. That doesn't bring me joy because I still am a
Right.
beauty. Like I like that does set my world on fire. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to really look at what is the underlying value? What am I trying to get out of this? And then fit
Yeah.
it to me and not necessarily what someone else thinks is good. Because that might work for them and that's awesome.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work for me.
Well, I think you nailed it, that it's the both and.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I can abhor bookshelves ranked by color, and you can do that if you're that monster.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yes, you can.
Anything else? Oh, dear God, save me. Anything else about prioritizing your to-do list before we start to wrap up?
No. If you're not making a to-do list, that's the only thing I have. Like, if you listen to anything, make a to-do list. Because I know there's some people that don't.
Yeah.
I don't understand them, but
I would love to hear from you if you don't make a to-do list. How that works for you. And I don't mean that in like a Dr. Phil. How does that work?
yeah.
Yeah, tell us about the rhythm of your day.
I mean, I mean it
fascinated
like
by
Dr. Phil. How's that working for you? Is
Well,
that
that's-
why you're late every time we hang out? You know who you are.
Oh, so that's not bringing you joy.
No.
Do you want to share what's bringing you joy this week? Let's swing it around. Swing it around.
Letting go of expectations of others. I guess we'll connect it to that. I am quick plug for the book club before I talk about it. Another book. We have a book club here at Conscious Contact. We are going to have our discussion tomorrow, right?
That's right,
When we're
yep.
recording this. So if you have read it, or if you've just started and haven't finished, or if you haven't read it at all, please come join. It is also just like a let's chat on Zoom and get to know each other. Because this conversation that you're listening to is one-sided because you're not able to talk back. So this is an opportunity for you to talk back or yell back or whatever you need to do with us. But yeah, if you want all the details for that and to get the link to join, go to consciouscontact.com and there is a link there to sign up for the book club. I am reading a book that all of the yeses, all of the 100% agrees. It's stuff that I
Mm.
already, like, it is kind of how I already live my life, but it is more structure, more laying it out on the open. I love the way that it's written. I'm listening to it on audiobook also, which is, it's three different narrators. So there is an actual narrator, there is a student, and then there is a teacher. So they're having a conversation.
Okay.
And the book is called, which I want you to read this book, Susan. I really do. The Courage to be Disliked.
I saw you're reading that on Goodreads. Yes.
It is phenomenal. And I get it's going to be really intense for people because it is. It is taking the power back for you to change your own life.
I was fascinated when I saw that on Goodreads that you were reading that because I'm like, well, you could have written it.
Yeah.
Why are you reading this book?
Yes.
Why did you decide to pick it up?
I knew the ideas behind it were stuff that I already agreed with, like the way that I just am naturally, because like I don't care if you don't like me. Like, I really don't.
Yeah. So then why this book?
The way that it's presented, and also just like it has a place in my heart. I've been meaning to read it for a while. I was on a plane to California to hike with one of my friends last year. And I was sitting next, and I'm a nervous flyer. I was sitting next to this guy, and an older guy, and he started a conversation because he was nervous too. And I was like, oh, thank God. And I was kind of in a poop mood, if I'm being honest. Like, I don't like travel. The airport was crowded. I was over it. So he immediately knocked me out of that. And then come to find out he's in recovery too. And he's like a BMX rider, aficionado, whatever. And he told me stories about his family and his kids. And he was talking about, because I felt like you two were very similar soul wise. And he's like, I'm reading this book and it's really challenging for me to wrap my head around, because it's hard to let go of that people pleasing or thinking about the version of me that's in other people's heads and all of that stuff. And I was like, oh, that sounds like my personal ethos. Like I would love to read that. And he's like, it's originally written by a Japanese man, I believe, and it's translated.
Okay.
The translation seems great to me so far. I don't know. But the narration situation sparked my joy because it's an overall narrator, and then it's the conversation between the student and the teacher, and they're all different.
Yeah.
And when it's presented that way, it is like a conversation. It's like people that don't agree with each other challenging each other in an effort to understand each other and to grow as humans. And
interesting.
It's just so good, and it is very like no bullshit, but it's presented in such a lovely way that I think it's more easily digestible for people that just completely don't agree or say that's too much to ask from me or don't know if they can let go of all that stuff, because the courage to be disliked is only one part of what they talk about as a whole. But it's so good. I love it. I love it.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'll check that one out.
Yes. What about you?
So when I know you hate all these pauses.
I don't care.
Poor listeners, listen to all my. So we're going to visit Anna in Italy.
Yeah.
As I mentioned earlier, she's going to be in Italy. And random thought, as I was taking a nap, about to fall asleep, taking a nap the other day, I need to check my passport due date. So I'm like, okay. And I set a reminder on my phone, took my nap, got up, passport expired last summer.
Oh.
And it's fine. There are ways to get it.
Yeah. Expedited and all that.
Yeah. Or I'll just, drive and get it done the same day if the expediting doesn't work and it's time. So there are ways around it. But what has brought me joy, not the expired passport, but listening to that voice, that intuition that said, might want to check this out.
Yes.
And I did not forego my nap that I love on the weekend. I didn't forego that to get up and go take care of it. I set myself up for success to go check it when I got up.
Yeah.
30 minutes is not going to make or break whether I get my passport in time for us to go to Italy.
No. Yeah.
So I was able to get everything done. So I guess this is sort of tying it back to the topic, even though we don't always do that there's room for everything.
Yeah.
If we allow there to be. And I was a little worried that I was going to forget, but that's my system. If I'm on the go, I collect it digitally, it fired, and then I took care of it right away.
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm so filled with joy that I actually listened to my intuition. My systems worked. I'll feel a lot more joy when I actually have the new passport in hand. But and the things fell in line. Walgreens was open the next morning at 8:00 when I was running errands. I got the pictures taken, and everything fell into line so far. So I'm not worried about it.
We'll send all the good vibes to Susan for that.
Yeah, and if worst comes to worst, we'll just drive over to DeJoy's house. He lives here in Greensboro with us, and be like, "Listen, Postmaster General, where's my passport?
I need an emergency passport."
Yeah, because that's how the government works. We're just going to go to his house.
Why not? Yeah, don't do that. Unless you know them personally.
Don't do that.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So
I do hope everyone joins us for the book club. Truly, even if you have not read it, we hope to talk to you tomorrow. There will be a link to join us. So you get that link by signing up. So it's free, but we just want to know who's coming so we know where to find that link. And we're also going to put it on social media as well. So I am at sustainable_Sue on Instagram, or you can find me at sustainablesue.com.
Yes, I am at Genay Peavey, and the podcast is at Conscious Contact Podcast on YouTube and on Instagram. So come check it out. Sign up for the book club, because we're just going to talk. The book's going to factor into that, but we just want to chat, want to hang out.
Love it.
See you next time.
Thank you.